There are some verses in the Bible that are so famous we almost forget how powerful they are. Well, what if I told you one of those verses wasn't just an ancient promise, but the secret fuel behind one of the most incredible comeback stories in all of sports history? Today, we're absolutely unpacking that story. So let's just start with this question, because it sounds impossible. How does a little boy whose legs were so horrifically burned that doctors said we have to amputate not only learn to walk again, but go on to shatter world records and win an Olympic medal? And look, this isn't some made-up tale. This is the actual, true story of a man named Glen Cunningham. All right, to really get the power of the promise he held on to, we first have to understand the depth of his pain. So let's dive into the story of the man they eventually called the Kansas Cyclone. The tragedy that started it all, it's just unimaginable. We're talking 1917. An explosion at his schoolhouse tragically took the life of his older brother Floyd. And for Glenn, it resulted in these catastrophic burns all over his legs. The doctors said the flesh on his knees and shins was just gone. His left foot lost all its toes. I mean, the medical verdict was blunt and grim: amputate. They said best case scenario, he would never, ever walk normally again. Just look at this timeline. The sheer scale of this journey is staggering. After that horrific accident in 1917, it took 2 full years of what must have been agonizing therapy just to learn how to walk again. But then something just clicks. The journey accelerates in this unbelievable way. By 1933, he's not just a runner, he's the top amateur athlete in the entire country. A year later, boom, he sets a world record. And by 1936, he's standing on the podium with an Olympic silver medal. It's a trajectory that just shouldn't be possible. So what was the secret, right? How did he completely defy a medical prognosis that should have put him in a wheelchair for life? Well, the answer isn't just about grit. It lies in the true source of his strength. Now, his family had this really powerful motto: never quit. And you can bet that determination was a huge factor. But Cunningham himself, he always pointed to something deeper. He had this one specific verse that he clung to, and he said that was the true engine behind his recovery and his entire running career. And this is it, Isaiah 40:31. For Glen Cunningham, this wasn't just some nice, encouraging thought. It was a promise he took literally. He truly believed that this verse described a source of strength that went way beyond human limitation, and that he, personally, could tap into it. So let's do what he did. Let's actually decode this promise. Yeah, these words were written thousands of years ago, but their power is in their very precise meaning. What does it actually mean to wait, to renew, and this incredible idea of mounting up with wings like eagles? Okay, first, let's tackle that word wait. The original Hebrew is kavah, and this is so important. It does not mean idly passing the time or just sitting around hoping something happens. No way. It's an active, engaged posture. A better way to think of it is a clinging, expectant trust. It's like you're actively looking to God as the one and only source of a solution. Now, what about that word renew? The Hebrew here is chalaf, and it means to exchange. And this just brilliantly illustrates the whole point. It's like changing your clothes. You're not just patching up your old, tired t-shirt. You are taking off your own weakness entirely, your exhaustion, your fear, and you're putting on a garment of divine strength. It is a complete and total substitution. And this exchange of strength, it produces 3 incredible results. And you've got to notice the progression here. It's amazing. It starts with the supernatural, soaring like an eagle. Then it moves to the strenuous, running without getting weary. And finally, it lands on the mundane, the daily grind, just walking without fainting. It's a promise of supernatural endurance for every single level of life's challenges. And that eagle imagery is just so powerful, isn't it? An eagle doesn't try to fight a storm head-on. It finds the thermal updrafts within the storm and uses that power to rise above it. That's what this verse is promising. A strength that lets you soar above a circumstance that, by all rights, should completely crush you, just like Glen Cunningham soared above his diagnosis. But here's the thing, this promise wasn't just written in a vacuum. To really feel its full power, we have to understand who the prophet Isaiah was originally speaking to. Because, believe me, they were a people who knew exactly what it felt like to be at the absolute end of their strength. So Isaiah's first audience was the people of Israel. They've been living as exiles in Babylon for decades. They were exhausted, they were discouraged, and they felt completely and totally abandoned by God. You can hear it in their writings. They were saying things like, "My way is hidden from the Lord." They felt like their pain was unseen and their prayers were just hitting the ceiling. This promise was a direct answer to that profound despair. And to give them hope, Isaiah does something really powerful. He reminds him of their own history, the famous exodus from Egypt. But then he promises a new exodus from Babylon that would be even better. Think about it. The first one was this hasty escape in the middle of the night. This new one, it's going to be a calm, deliberate departure. The first journey was through a barren desert. This new one would be through a land where God provides everything they need. The strategy here was pure genius. He was anchoring a future promise in a historical reality they all knew. He was essentially saying, hey, remember what God did for our ancestors? That proves what he's capable of. He has done it before, and he will do it again for you. This made the promise feel concrete and trustworthy, not like some vague, wishful thinking. So what we're seeing here is this timeless principle unfolding right before our eyes. It starts as a very specific promise to a nation in exile. Then, centuries and centuries later, it's embodied in the person of a runner who just refused to be broken. And now, it becomes a universal principle for anyone, for you, for me, at any time, who reaches the end of their own strength. And you know, Glen Cunningham's story doesn't just end on the Olympic podium. That would be amazing enough. But after retiring, he and his wife took that incredible strength he had received and they gave it all away. They founded a youth ranch, and over the years, they served more than 10,000 children who were needy or had been abused, helping them find their own strength to overcome. So ultimately, the promise of Isaiah 40:31 isn't some magic formula to avoid weakness. I mean, the verse itself says even the strongest, the young men, will faint and fall. Instead, it's a promise about what is available to us when we feel weak. It's about that incredible exchange that can happen at the very moment we finally admit our own strength has completely run out. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. When you reach that point, and we all do, when your own power is gone and you feel like you just can't take another step, what does it truly mean to stop, to look up, and to wait for your strength to be exchanged for another's?